morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world.
Okay, I'll go with that.
So good morning to Mr. Tony and to everyone who's in the States. Good afternoon to everybody who's up in this end of the world. And good evening to Annette, who's down in Australia.
Good day, everybody.
Yeah, and who have we got in chat? We've got Teresa Jukiewicz. Hello, my darling. My Renaissance Grandma. Hello, sweetheart. She's in the bushes listening while working.
Does that mean literally never mind, forget it.
And we've got Annette from our urban homestead. So
hello.
How are we all doing?
Was that a question or rhetorical?
Yeah. No, it's a question. It's a genuine question. You can answer it. I'll let you.
It's cold and I'm tired and it's morning. So there.
Oh, well, there you go.
Hey, we don't have feet of snow on the ground, so I guess that's a plus.
And we've got Claire in the chat as well. Bless her heart. She's here too. She's one of my mods in the Blues Barrel Monkey group on Facebook. If you guys want to follow there is a link in the description below for there. It's just a small little private group that is where we get to chat about all kinds of things, and we're just very supportive in there. So yeah, it's like a little family.
Just be warned, it's very blatant and
supportive.
Oh
yeah yeah. Annette says, sweating our butts off the next 3 days will be over 40 plus degrees Celsius. You know what? I'd be making use of that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I would be getting out as many things as I possibly could to air dry, sun dry. Tomatoes, any veg, fruit, anything. Get it out there. Use it. Doesn't cost you anything. Yeah.
Well, it kind of sounds like you would have a plan then, right?
Oh, I'd absolutely have a plan. Yeah. I would absolutely have a plan. Yeah. Which is what we happen to be talking about today, which is our first episode on meal planning.
There's a lot of first episodes coming out of this.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about 5 of the best hints and tips before you start, and 5 considerations you need to make before you start menu planning and meal prepping.
Right.
Okay. And it's really important to think about these things before you do them. It's all very well writing out a menu plan, but if you haven't got half the ingredients and you haven't done your shopping list, and then you're making a whole heap of stuff that you may not eat or people in your family may not eat, you're kind of like at a point where it's like, oops.
And I think regardless of what you're doing, whether you're meal planning or you're food preserving, whatever it is you're doing, the biggest downfall people have is they make things that their family won't eat.
Yeah.
Now that's intentional and unintentional, and I get that, but it does happen. So
yeah. Hello, Heather from Milk and Honey Heritage Farms.
Yeah.
Our resident beekeeper, she's awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
I got to tell you something. I want to throw this out there just so everybody knows what kind of person Heather is. We had a channel that ran into us. We had a channel that ran into a scheduling problem. The video needs to go out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Heather jumped up to the plate, is doing her video today, and will be out tomorrow, and switched with the person just like that. No hesitation.
Wow.
Yes. So thank you. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. See, I would have jumped up to do it, but I've got to go and do the shopping for mine.
You got things going on. I get that.
I got to do my. Yeah. So yeah.
Sorry.
That's all
Back
good.
to
Yeah.
planning.
Yes, back to meal planning. So, all right. So, meal prepping in itself is a really good way to make sure you're not wasting anything when purchasing your groceries. Okay. One of the worst things that we've got going at the moment, and most of it's all freak out at, is the amount of waste that we have, especially when it comes to fresh fruit, veg, fresh meat, all of the fresh ingredients, right? It's heartbreaking sometimes when you buy all this stuff because you've always bought it and then you haven't used it, then you got to chuck it out and put it on the compost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So meal prepping is a really good way to stop that from happening, because you can go through all your leftovers at the end of the fortnight, the end of the month, whenever, and go, right, well, I can make this, and this out of those, stick them in the freezer, jar them up, do however you're going to do, right? In the case of Annette, I would grab everything that's left over at the end of the fortnight and make use of those 40-degree days and get them all dried. Everything that could be dehydrated, dehydrate it.
Right.
Hi, Tammy. Mountain Grandma is in the house.
Hello.
So yeah, I mean, like, there's things that you can do there to try and offset some of that wastage. And just, even if you're just making soups.
Well, I think the other thing to take it just from on the surface, because there's a lot of information that goes with this, but I think on the surface too, in helping with the waste, limiting the waste, I guess is the words I want to use.
Yeah.
Meal planning allows you to also make a grocery list,
yes,
which then keeps you on task if that's what you need.
Absolutely, it does. So, and there is an art to it.
Yes.
There's an art.
Oh, yeah, there is.
There is an art to it, and we're going to try and hopefully give you the tips to show you that it's easy without you getting overwhelmed. Because a lot of people go and they watch these big long videos on food prepping and all of this kind of stuff, and they're like, you know, because they don't know where to start, you know, and they get very overwhelmed. So we're going to try and take a little bit of that overwhelm away by sharing some of these hints, tips, and considerations that you can make before you get stuck into it. Okay. Right. So the first one is to see it as a project and not a chore. Okay. If meal planning and meal prepping is a project, it's fun. Chores are not fun. They're not meant to be fun. It's chores. We hated them as kids. We hated them as teenagers. We hated them in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and every other year afterwards. But projects give you something to think about, something to do. It gets a bit exciting. You know, you might do 6 days of stuff that you're used to cooking day in, day out. And one day where you can experiment a bit.
Which I would say.
Yeah. So you can try a new thing. Try something new, try something different.
I think it kind of goes along with the thought process of food storage.
Yes.
And I agree with you, don't make it a chore, but it's an ongoing project. That's the way you need
it. Absolutely is.
Yeah.
But
1
or 2 days of meal prepping can mean that you don't have to do any actual thinking too hard about food and dinners and things for an entire month, possibly longer.
Right.
You know, and that's really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're working full time and you've got the kids and you've got everything else going on and all of the things, the last thing you want to do is put 2 hours of work into a dinner that by the time you've done it, you're too tired to eat it.
Yeah.
You know? But it's also a really good time that you can experiment and try new things. You know?
Yep.
So be a little bit excited about it. Like, okay, so we do one night a week where I make homemade takeaway food. Okay. So stuff that we like to buy as takeaway food, I will make it. And honestly, right now, we're not buying takeaway food. Because what I'm making is more on par on what we want and what our tastes are, that, you know, we're enjoying it more. Even Tanny's going, yeah, you got to make more of this. It's like when I made spring rolls, when I made him lumpia, which is Filipino pork spring rolls. You know, the only thing I haven't figured out yet is the chip shop Chinese curry. But
the what?
Chips shop Chinese curry.
Okay.
But we'll figure it out. Yeah, fake away.
I like that.
Yeah, but it gives you the opportunity to try new things. If you've never cooked Thai food before and you really like having Thai food, try something Thai. You know, put something Thai together, or your meat or something in a Thai marinade, a green curry marinade, and then you've got it. And then all you have to do is chuck it in the freezer and or bring it out when you're ready the night before or whatever, and have it going. And it's simple. It makes life that much easier. Gail Southern Living is in the house. Hi, Gail. How you doing, honey? It's lovely to see you. So, yeah, make it a project. Don't make it a chore. So the other thing is, what time do you have? And this is about your availability to cook during the week. So if you are working full-time, and it's better off that you do a load of crock pot meals, do the crock pot meals. Do them. Put them on before you walk out the door to go. You come home, all you have to do is add a couple of bits of this and that, bounce it up a bit, you know, and you're laughing. Really? You know, like, so say, for example, you have put a Thai green curry on. When you get home, chuck in the fresh veg, give it a bit of fresh coriander or cilantro, as you guys call it, bit of a squeeze of lime, you know, and it just bounces it. So, you know, it's doing things like that, you know, or if you've got like a ragu, like a spag bowl type sauce going on, so that all you have to do when you get home is cook half the pasta. Add in some fresh basil right at the end when you get home. Give it that lift, you know, turn it into something a little bit more special. It works. It does. But it also means that you, while you're trying to balance the kids yelling about homework, you trying to get out of your work clothes, trying to sort out everything else, the dog's doing the pee dance at the back door, you know, you know, your husband's coming in about 45 minutes or whatever, you know, and you're trying to get all of the things happening. The last thing you want to do is try and cook a full meal in the middle of that. So if you're doing a load of crock pots, the crock pot and the slow cooker can be your absolute best friend. You know, it really, really can. Absolutely real life stuff. So being really sensible about what time you have to do all this stuff is really important. Also looking at, you know, yeah, that. So our third one would be just like Grandma used to make and what she used to do. Now, Grandma always used to have full meal on the table, right? Always. There was always a full meal on the table. But I can guarantee you that woman did not spend half her day in the kitchen. She had too much stuff to do. You know, she was looking after the garden. She was probably doing some charity work somewhere. She was also doing all of the other things like we all have to do. But we've forgotten how to do it because we've forgotten what she used to do. Because we feel like we don't have the time to do it.
I know that.
Right.
But there's ways and means.
Most of them.
So, for example, you know,
You probably hear that. Either one.
day, for example, used to be the big cooking day in every household. Wasn't supposed to be, but it was. Because you'd have Sunday breakfast. And while everyone was eating breakfast, the roast dinner would go in, or at least the beast of the feast would go in. Then you go to church. Then you come home. The veggies go in. And when everyone's sitting down and eating, the dessert would go in. The bread would go in for the week's baking. Then when all that got pulled out, while you were having dessert, or pudding, or whatever you want to call it, the week's baking went in. And she would make meals from that roast dinner. It wouldn't just be, you know, just that. She would make a week's worth of food with that meal. You know, we ate so differently then.
And that's part of the problem we all run into is that we all eat different than what we used to.
Yeah, because we've got used to the convenience of grabbing stuff in the stores because we think we don't have time to do it. When in reality, there are ways and means of doing this stuff that is not going to take you that long at all.
Right.
You know? I mean, like...
Sorry. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You know, you plan properly, you research properly, and you get on top of it. And it's not going to take you that long.
It's so funny we think alike because that's exactly what I was just going to say.
Yeah. Wait. Let's have a really quick look at chat because I know I've missed quite a bit. Sorry about the coughing. I'm still struggling with it. I'm trying to get rid of it. And he says, I shop fortnightly in the last few days before. I always shelf cook, making sure I use everything up. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Claire says, my mum used to call it make do and mend meals.
Mm-hmm.
So glad I got that from her. Used to have a freezer full of meals, but she was brought up in the war. She knew how to scrimp and use up. Exactly.
Right.
And Heather says, turn the music on and then it's fun. Yeah.
I like that part. Yeah.
I mean, like, if I've got a load of prepping of veg or herbs or quite a lot of stuff to do, that I'm just going to be sitting there peeling potatoes or carrots or chopping stuff or whatever, I'll put a movie on.
There you go.
You know, I'll put a movie on or, you know, watch YouTube videos in the background or whatever, you know. And he says, I include one new recipe a fortnight and one new baking recipe a fortnight.
That's a good idea.
It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. Tammy says, yes to this. I love to learn the food that we would buy in a restaurant. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it does. It saves you huge amounts of money. You don't realize how much money it's going to save you to do that. You know?
And you've learned a new cooking skill.
You learn your cooking. Absolutely learn your cooking skill. And the other thing is as well, it might end up being something you absolutely hate. Or it could become your next favorite meal.
Yep.
You never know. And he says our next fortnight meal plan will be all no-cook meals. Nothing wrong with that.
Mm-mm.
Claire says Monday bubble and squeak. Absolutely. Cooked in the bacon grease left over from the Sunday breakfast. Okay, so looks like Tammy and Gail are looking to do a meetup somewhere.
I kind of gathered that.
Let's go. That's no problem. Okay, so the next one.
Are you going to be there, Blue?
It's a little far to swim for me.
Oh, okay. Teresa Juki.
Hello.
Hang on. Can you continue for a second? Just chat to chat. I've actually got a call I have to take this. Sorry.
Okay. So we will go ahead and continue on where you guys are at. I think it's great whenever the channels can meet together and get to know one another because we need that. So basically she was saying, cooking like our grandmas used to, that's one of those things that's kind of the lost art of what we used to do. Hello, Alfonso from Colorado. Thank you for coming in. The other thing that's next that she wanted to talk about is if it's your family's favorite meal, it gives the person cooking time to take a break from what's going on.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So you have Alfonso Cemento.
Hey! Hello.
And I was just starting to talk about If It's.
If It's, absolutely. If It's, oh my God, the best meal in the whole wide world.
Yes, that's about as far as I got, was right there.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
If it's in the fridge, the freezer, the cupboards, whatever,
yeah,
it's fair game. And you get a night off.
That's the beauty of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Friday night is a really good night for If It's.
Mm-hmm.
Friday or Saturday. And we used to love them. And the other ones that we used to do was like when the kids were home on holidays and things,
mm-hmm.
and, you got to sort lunches out and stuff. I would just put the cold meats, the cheeses, the spreads, the bread, the pickles, the salad, everything would go on the table.
Yeah.
Do what you like. Put whatever you want on it. You want to have PB&J and add pickled onions to that?
Whoa!
Do what you like. But it's where the kids get to learn a little self-sufficiency and whether they should be eating that kind of combination or not.
Oh.
But the only rule that was stipulated was if you make it, you got to eat it.
Well, okay, there you go.
Okay, that was the only stipulation that was ever made. If you make it, you eat it. But it was a really good way. You know how we do loads of food preservation. We do all this pickling and we do all of that. And then at the end of the year, you've kind of been saving it up for Christmas and no one's eating it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really good way of using up all of those pickles.
Yeah.
Oh. We had some weirdness at our table. All I can say is kids are kids. They're going to put whatever they want in their food. And as long as they eat it, I'm good with it.
Okay.
So what have we got? Alfonso says, I've learned to cook through the New Mexico Commission for the Blind back in 2011, which was part of the independent living program under the vocational rehab. Dude!
Yeah. Well, go down farther because he adds to it.
Except I was trained to cook on an electric stove. I was told that gas stove is not recommended if you're blind or visually impaired. What do you like better, gas or electric stove? That's a complicated question. I personally prefer gas. If I had my full choice, I would have an Aga, which is an oil-based or wood-based wood stove here in the UK. It heats the house, it heats the water, it does everything, but it's got to be turned on for like 8 months of the year. Okay. Incredibly expensive to run at this point. So not something that is going to end up in our house anytime soon. But that would be my personal choice. But I do prefer gas because you can turn it up and down very, very quickly.
Right.
I do use electric. I have an electric hot plate that I use when I do my videos. A lot of my videos, I use the electric hot plate. It's just easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like induction. I don't. It costs the earth to run. It costs about 4 times as much per hot plate as my little portable electric hot plate takes to run.
Okay.
And then you have to buy all of the new saucepans and stuff like that because it doesn't like the old style ones. So it becomes really quite expensive. And it used to take me something like 45 minutes to boil water for pasta on ours because of the pot that I had.
Oh.
So I was like, nah.
Sorry.
But if I had my choice, I'd go for wood every time. That would be my personal favorite. But gas, if I've got any choice, you know. Let's have a look. Teresa says, my husband made grilled cheese hamburgers the other day and they're absolutely delicious. Yeah, Annette, Creo Burger Bar with rolls, burgers, patties, and all the fixings. Absolutely. That's another really good way to do it. Yeah, and then we're talking about gas and stuff.
Right.
So, yeah. So, Ifits is awesome. The next thing is fresh is best. We know fresh is best. But if you're meal prepping and a lot of your stuff has gone in the freezer and then you're going to put it in the slow cooker or whatever, you want to keep your fresh herbs and your aromatics out of those.
Mm-hmm.
And put them in at the last minute, like I explained before. Like, we've got examples here of fresh soft herbs and citrus is always best left until last, especially if it's not part of the marinade. So fresh chopped coriander / cilantro leaves with a squeeze of fresh lime will add something to a coconut-based curry. Fresh basil chopped or torn into a spag bowl sauce. Or fresh parsley, coriander with a squeeze of fresh lemon over tagine or stew or whatever. Just elevates it.
Right.
You know? Yeah. So, yeah, that's always a good way to end up. So those are your 5 things that your big tips.
Mm-hmm.
Your big tips. So Annie says, here in Australia, there are new laws coming in that new home builds aren't allowed to have gas cookers. Well, it's just as well that when I do have my own place over there, it won't be a new home build. Alfonso says, learning to cook was very difficult for me to do. I had to learn not to get my face close to the pan or to the burners. I had to learn to use my other senses. How can a blind person use a gas stove? I don't know, darling. It's not something that's in my wheelhouse. And I honestly would say probably electric is your better option, a safer option, until you are confident with what you can do. unless you have someone who's with you, who can help you. You know,
I would agree with that.
Definitely get your confidence up with what you've got first, and then go from there.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you've got to use electric, you've got to use electric. I would rather you do that than set light to yourself personally. You know?
Yeah.
So, are we all good so far? Okay. So we are all good so far. Except for my grandson, who's very much complaining about whatever it is he's complaining about.
I was going to say yes.
So now we're going to look at the 5 questions or considerations you need to make before you start meal planning, prepping and meal planning. Okay. Okay. So if you are someone who has been cooking for a long time and you are confident in what your abilities are, stick to what your abilities are.
Right.
Doesn't mean don't try new things. What it means is get used to this new way of doing things and add new things as you feel confident and able to do. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who are just used to trying new things all the time, we can do that without a problem. But if you're going to try new things and you're only confident with the things that you know how to do, then only do the things that you know how to do and then do new things, right?
Yep.
The other thing is if you are a brand new cook, go with the things that you know are going to be easy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Stick to easier recipes. Basic, traditional, easy recipes. They don't have to be Pinterest worthy.
No.
You're not feeding, the G20 summit or whatever, right? You're feeding you and yours, and you're giving it a go, and you're learning. And that's what you have to remember with that. Okay?
Right.
But cook and prep what you are confident doing. All right? So you want to look at what your actual skill level is. Now, no one is born knowing how to cook.
What?
No. I'm sorry. There is no one in this room or in your room or in any room who is born knowing how to cook.
I beg to differ.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
Put it this way. Before I went and learned how to cook and became a chef and got myself an apprenticeship,
mm-hmm.
I nearly killed my dad, my brother, and his dog.
And the dog.
And I exploded boiled eggs. I destroyed my parents' new cooker they bought because I exploded boiled eggs.
I don't know what to say.
Okay.
That's not fun.
Knowing how to cook. None of us. Yeah. Well, when Bam was 6 months old, we moved to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
We moved back into my parents' house, which had been rented out to the embassies for their people to live in. So we had to refurbish it. My parents decided to get a new cooker, and it was one of the new ceramic hob types. I put in some eggs to boil. I got caught up with doing other things, like looking after the baby, running up and down the stairs with laundry, running around because my dad called me, then my brother called me, then the dog ran off with something that I
doing
had to chase.
Everything except for paying attention to your cooking.
And all of a sudden, there's this almighty explosion in the kitchen. They had boiled to the point where the saucepan was red and white hot. It had a copper-based bottom on it, that had literally blown off the base of the pot. The pressure inside the pot blew the pot lid upwards into the ceiling. And when the eggs exploded, because they got so dried out and they just blew the base off the pot, smashed the whole pot, the stove up, blew the lid up into the ceiling. Yeah.
Okay, most people never.
If you don't do it.
Most people don't experience that. Even the worst cooks.
Not experience that. But I'm just saying. You know.
I get it.
And the way that I almost got my dad, it's not a pressure pot. It was a normal saucepan, but the pressure had built up so much inside the eggs that when they completely dried out to the point that the pressure had built up inside the egg, they exploded.
Right.
And the force of that explosion blew the base off the bottom of the pot and the lid up so high, it just went boom straight into the ceiling, which was 6 foot above the top of the stove. And it was just sitting there in the ceiling.
I'm so glad you can talk about it and laugh about it now.
It's reality, you know.
Yeah,
it's reality. At the end of the day, it's not. You know, the point is that yes, I can cook now, but it took me years. I'm not going to lie, I was not good at it straight away. I was veg prepping for a very long time.
Yeah, because they all heard the boiled egg story.
Yeah. And how I got, and it was in the same week as this explosion had happened that I made my dad and my brother a curry out of my mum's handwritten recipe book. She had a little blue folder that was all her handmade recipes, and she wrote out this recipe for a tuna curry that she had during the war. It was, you know, become a family favorite. It looked simple enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it according to what I read on the paper. And then apparently I needed glasses at that point. Because my mother I didn't see the capital T as tablespoons. I just wrote, no, I saw it as tablespoons, not teaspoons. And I didn't see the hyphen between the 1 and the 2. 12 tablespoons of curry powder went into the pot. And my brother, who lived in Thailand for 3 years, literally, who had burnt his mouth so badly on hot food in Thailand and couldn't taste heat, went purple in the face. And my dad just looked at it and he was like, my eyes are watering. I'm scared to try this. They even tried to give some to the dog, and the dog just went yelping out the front door. He just went and just walked off.
Yeah.
And we went out to dinner that night.
So what made you realize that the recipe was incorrect as to your interpretation?
Well, Dad said, he said, well, what did you do? And I said, well, I did exactly as Mum had written. And he goes, let me see. And I said, look, 12 tablespoons. He goes, it says 1 to 2 teaspoons.
Did you write that out differently?
I've never made it again. I've never made it again.
Okay. Fair enough.
I never did it again. But the point is, even those of us who now cook and we now teach other people how to cook, we started somewhere.
Right.
And it was at that moment that my dad turned around to me and he said, over dinner, while we were out away from the safety of the house and in public, he turned around and said, you need to learn to cook before you kill your child. He said, and you need to get a job, so I would suggest you get an apprenticeship.
That's
he
funny.
said, people always got to eat. So, yeah. And I ended up where we were having dinner, which was a local social club. I actually went to the kitchens and asked for an apprenticeship and I got it. I told them what had happened and everything. I said, this is why I want to do this. I said, I need to be able to do this so I don't kill people.
How long were you there?
I was there for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was there for 3 years.
Do you think that's where you got your base from?
I did. That's where I got a lot of my base from, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, then it was definitely worth it, and they gave you the opportunity, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but it was a lot of hard graft. And the first year, like I said, it was mostly dishes and veg prep.
Mm-hmm.
Getting my knife skills done. But yeah, so no one knows straight off how to do it. Takes work, takes practice, But understand that if you are learning new skill sets, give yourself the opportunity to learn those as you're doing the meal prepping, right? And don't do anything that's so advanced for you and out of your wheelbase that you're going to fail and put yourself down. If you look at a recipe and think, oh, that's got more than 5 or 6 ingredients in it, and you're not someone who is ready.
Excuse me.
Don't do it. Well,
I think there's also something to look at too, and if I'm cutting into what you're going to say, I apologize, but I think there's a trade-off to this part of the conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're making a dish that involves roasted chicken, there's nothing that says you can't make life easy and go get a rotisserie chicken that's already pre-cooked. Okay. Then take the recipe from that point, move forward.
Yeah. Okay? And if you need to do it on a budget, either go in the last hour that that hot deli is open, because they'll start selling off cheap. And if you're there in the morning, you get them cold, cheap.
Right. And I'm not referring to that exactly, but your point is valid. I'm not taking away from it, but I think if when you're meal planning, look at where the shortcuts are. Now, do the shortcuts save you money? That's something you have to decide. Does it save you time? That's something you have to decide. But there is nothing wrong with the ideology that you take the shortcuts where you can, if you can afford to do them, and do them, because it's going to make your life that much easier.
Absolutely, it is. And see, the other thing as well is it might cost you £2.99 to go and get yourself a chicken from Farm Foods or somewhere cheap, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might cost you £5 to cook it.
Right.
Whereas you can go and pick up a rotisserie chicken for $5 or $6.
I was just going to say, so you're at $7.99 and you can go buy one for $5.99. Just example.
Yeah. Depending on where you buy it from.
Right.
So you got to look at the pros and cons of all of this, and what's worth it and what's not.
And does it buy you time? That's another consideration,
Exactly.
So nothing wrong with it. That's the point.
No.
And going back, go ahead.
We used to do that all the time, actually, when the kids were little.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was the middle of the week and I was running late because I'd been working all day, we'd got the kids and what have you, and I'd had to pick them up from after school care or whatever. Mm-hmm. We'd go and grab a rotisserie chicken, a tub of coleslaw, and some rolls. Because all of that stuff gets marked down at the end of the day. and we grab a whole heap of it, take it home, make rolls, have coleslaw and chicken rolls for dinner. Was it in the meal plan? No. Had I had time to sort out the meal plan? Not on that day. Because obviously things have got out of hand. And that's life. You know? And he says, I wish I could get a rotisserie chicken for $5. They range in price from 10 to 13 here. I'm telling you right now that Coles marked them down at 5 o'clock in the evening. They mark them down between 5 and 6. Go down then, go and pick them up because they take 50% off the price. I know it for a fact. And the reason that I know that for a fact is because my friend goes and shops at 6 o'clock at night specifically for that reason. Okay, but go down last thing in the evening.
Yeah.
And then you'll get the cheap chickens. You will get the cheap chickens.
The other thing I want to throw out there in this whole rotisserie chicken thought process, it goes back to the skill set topic you were talking about. Okay. Yeah. Those of us that know how to do it probably will just get a whole chicken, cook it off ourselves, and move on through life. Okay. Yeah. But if your skill set isn't that, there is nothing that says like, and I want to emphasize this. Okay.
Yeah.
What's a chicken recipe that will use pre-roasted chicken or roasted chicken before you can actually get in the recipe? Give me just a quick off the top of your head thought process.
Well, you could use it in rice, any rice dish. You could do it in a chicken tetrazzini. You could do it
with chicken, right?
Curry chicken, anything.
Okay. My point I'm trying to say is once you get that rotisserie chicken or that pre-cooked chicken, however you want to look at it, you're starting from that point. So your skill set doesn't have to be so advanced to be able to cook a dish like that. You can take it from that point and move forward.
Yeah.
You know, increasing your skill set because now you have another recipe you can make.
Yeah.
And when you have the time and the knowledge, then you can roast your own chicken at another time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you can't make these. It's just your skill set will dictate where you start.
Exactly.
Would be the better way to put it, I think, because it's been sitting in my head. There is ways to do it. It's just you have to adapt based on your skill set, as you say. So go ahead. Sorry.
Absolutely. So, I mean, like Tammy's just put chicken fettuccine and chicken tacos. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've got a recipe that I just did. Oh, I don't know, for someone's collaboration I viewed a couple of weeks ago.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know. Chicken and bacon sandwiches ring a bell?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know? You could do that. You could do a coronation chicken. You could do any kind of chicken salad with that. Mm-hmm. And just stick it in some rolls or whatever you want to have it with. You know?
So Tammy just put something up. Need to get the thing to make rotisserie at home. Crock pot is close, but not the same. Cook it in the crock pot and then end it in the oven for the last 20 minutes at 450 degrees. You will get the same theoretical finish off of it.
Yeah. Oh, Tammy wants to join the collabs. Stick her on the list. Woman can cook.
I've thrown you out there, but I say that one more time, Tony. Tony is awesome. Kettle Kitchen is the best channel. Oh, sorry, that's not what you're talking about. Sorry. Like a blue. I said, do your chicken in your crock pot like you normally do, but you're looking for that rotisserie finish. Take it from there, put it in your oven, 400, 450 degrees, depending on your oven and your temperature and all that. Let that puppy crisp up, and you will have these almost theoretical same results. Am I wrong, Bill?
Nope.
Okay.
No. Or if it's in pieces, you can stick it in the air fryer after it's been in the crock pot.
There you go. which
Okay,
we have done several times. That air fryer has helped us in that way before. So
you can do that with an air fryer.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is possible to do all these things, you know. So it's just finding a way that works for you, you know, at the end of the day.
Right.
But also you've got to take into consideration what your skill set is and where you're at right now. Okay.
Yep. All I'm trying to say is don't let it be a barrier in moving forward. I think that there are means around that. So
if you are seriously budget restricted and you have enough money to make one meal, the one thing that they used to do, what grandma used to do, was a massive Sunday dinner where they would cook all of the veg. They would have a joint of whatever meat, plus she would do a chicken, and the chicken would go in the stock. It would go in the stock pot to make the stock pot, right? So then you'd have cooked chicken meat for sandwiches or other meals during the week. Day 2 would be bubble and squeak, which is cooked off with the bacon fat left over from doing the bacon for Sunday breakfast. If you don't have that, you can use butter. It's fine. Day 3 would be something like a roast dinner pie, where you chop up some of the meat that you've got left over from the roast dinner. You chop up some of the veg you've got from the roast dinner. You use some of the leftover gravy and you slap over some puff pastry over the top of it. So it's like, I think you guys call it a pot pie.
Pot pie.
To us, it's just a pie.
Right.
It's just a pie. So, you know, simple stuff like that, right? That's going to feed 6 to 8 people, depending on the size of the thing you've got. Then you can do, on day 4, do a pasta or rice dish with whatever veg you've got left. It doesn't even have to be, you could use some of the chicken that you've got and do something very basic with that. You could, you know, depends on what veg you've got, what you want to do, you know, just make it up. Day 5 would be like a vegetable gratin. So, you know, any roast veg or steamed veg that you've got, you can just make a cheese sauce to go over the top of it. Stick it in the oven. Simple, really simple. And Miss Heather over at
Milk and Honey Heritage Farms
just did a white sauce recipe video. All you have to do is add the cheese at the end, melt it off. That's your cheese. Stick it, I pour it over the top of those veg, stick it in the oven, 20 minutes tops, right?
Yeah.
Simple. Day 6, whatever you have left over out of the meat, the veg, whatever, soup.
Yep.
Soup or a stew. Simple, right? Really simple stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated. No. And then day 7 is ifits.
And day 8, you start the process all over
again. But even if, like, just for me and Tanny, can I just say this is just me and Tanny, right? If I go and get a piece of pork about that size, right? Piece of pork about that size, and a chicken, bag of potatoes, bag of carrots, probably a cauliflower or broccoli, parsnips, a swede, and maybe some leeks and onions, right? That all will come to around £20. Okay? If we're careful. 20 to 25 quid. I can do all of those things and have cold meat for sandwiches, for lunches, for him to go to work with. And that will do us for 2 weeks worth of meals, because it's just him and I. Okay? It doesn't have to be really expensive. It might seem like it is, but it's not. And if you're a family of 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever, You know the size of meat that you've got to get if your family eats meat. You know what you need to cook to do that. But I'm just living in an urban environment, and we're just living on what we can get right now.
Right.
So it's making good with what you have and the resources you have. It doesn't have to cost the earth to do. Because I think 25 to 30 quid for 2 weeks worth of meals for 2 people out of one major cooking day, pretty damn good going, can I just say?
Well, yeah, because you separate that into 2 weeks, that's $12.50 a week, and then you divide that by 7 days.
Yeah, exactly right.
So
exactly right. But that's
just
what
a little over $1 or a little under $2 each day.
Yeah, exactly right. So, you know, and if you've got beef or something left over, you make hash for breakfast one day.
Right.
You know, a few of the potatoes, cut them down into squares.
Yep.
They're pre-roasted, so you can just pan fry them off really quick. It's no big deal. You know? Tammy says, I've discovered I have to have something made for the hubby to snack on at night so he doesn't end up just eating chips. So this has had me cooking meals that aren't meals just to have in the fridge. I got one of those. It's called a tanny. Otherwise known as the house poltergeist. Because he does it after he's gone to bed, and then he'll get up and do it.
That's funny.
I'll wake up in the morning and all the cupboards are open, the drawers are open, and there's a trail of crumbs. Literally. So you know when he's done it. She says pasta, salad, hummus, naan, hamburger meat for quick patties and leftover meals in the freezer. Yeah, exactly. Love to have soup or stew once a week for all the veggies, absolutely. And simple meals are often the best. They absolutely are. You know? But that's a list of meals that you can make out of one meal. They're really simple, very easy for anyone who's starting out to do.
Yep.
Very simple, very easy, very cheap to do. So, okay. So then you got to look at how many you're feeding. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you might be on your own, or you might have a family of 10. But at the end of the day, it's all still the same. The planning's a little different. You know, if you're making a full-size meal for yourself, that's going to last you 4 to 6 days. So you decide at that point, am I going to have one for this week and then I've got enough for 5 more weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just going to have that one meal for the week? That's entirely up to you and your choice. You know, it's not.
It's not an equation-based thing. You have to make that decision.
That's an entirely your decision thing.
Right.
You know, if you make a pot of stew in your slow cooker, are you having that just one night or 2 nights and then putting the rest in the freezer in individual portions?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got it for the next few weeks. See, when I was living on my own, I'd make one. I would do the week's worth of meals that I would normally do for a family, but I would put them in individual portions in the freezer.
Right.
And I would have enough for a month, sometimes up to 6 weeks worth of meals, just from doing that for what I would normally cook for a family of 4, because that's what I'm used to cooking. I can't cook for an individual. It doesn't work. It really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, but then you got to look at your containers and your equipment when it comes down to that as well. If you're a big family and only got small containers, it might be worth finding an individual person who's only got big containers and doing a swap.
Right.
You know, it's up to you how you want to do it, really. But if you're a big family, the bigger dishes are better than the smaller ones, unless you've got teenagers or whatever and
people coming and going in your house, and you want to have individual portions so they're not bringing out a whole thing,
right,
then that's entirely up to you. Yeah, and he also says, if you get, for example, a big tray of ground beef on special, work out how many different meals you can make with a tray of ground beef. Yep. Absolutely. So, yeah, you're looking at stuff like that, what equipment you need and stuff like that. So then you got to look at what meals am I including? Now, are you going to be prepping for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and snacks? Are you going to just be prepping for the main meal of the day? But that's entirely up to you. Are you menu planning for all of it, or are you menu planning for some of it? And how much of the prep work are you doing? Are you going to stand there for like 2 hours and just make waffles? So you've got a month's worth of waffles or pancakes or whatever, so that you've got them there for breakfast if you want them, or are you going to do like breakfast casseroles or whatever? Personally, I prefer to do breakfast myself, like have fresh eggs and things like that. I don't like the wet. There's a little bit too much water in frozen eggs for me. It's a texture I don't enjoy, but I will do it if I have to. And he says, I only meal plan dinners. Sorry for all the comments. Why are you sorry? Don't be sorry about the comments. Don't ever be sorry about commenting. This is a conversation. Okay? We want to hear what you guys have got to say. Welcome back, Teresa. So, yeah, think about how much you're doing that. If you're doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or just doing one meal a day. Entirely up to you. Then you have to look at what your actual budget is. If you only have a certain amount of money to spend, you can't go over that. You can't. If you've only got 20 quid to feed yourself for 2 weeks or a month, then that's what you've got for 2 weeks or a month. If you've got 50 quid to feed you and your family for the 2 weeks or a month, that's what you've got. And you have to work out your meals according to what you've got. But there are ways of making that stretch. There are ways of making those meals stretch. And you have to look at what your actual budget is.
right.
You may be surprised that you can actually purchase other things that you weren't expecting to be able to. Or you might have a horrible shock and find that you can't get as much as you thought you could. Or you may have to look at other places.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to look at what it's going to cost in either petrol or bus fares to get to where you're going. If you have to go to a different supermarket or a different supplier or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to know exactly what your budget is.
Yeah.
Exactly what your budget is, and stick to it. If it's going to be cheaper for you to buy a bag of flour than a loaf of bread, buy the flour. Teach yourself how to make bread.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi,
Elena. Hello, Nanny Tam. Tammy says, Annette, I tend to do that too, but love having the English English muffin breakfast sandwiches in the fridge and freezers. That overnight oatmeal is nice too. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because she makes her own sourdough English muffins. I'm going to go and live with Tammy, I'm just saying.
Yes, I agree.
I'm going to go live with Tammy. Yeah. I'm going to go live with Tammy. We can make room for a little one. Okay, so, yeah, there we go. But you also have to look at your budget as far as any equipment you need to get, freezer bags if you need to get them. They all need to be included in your budget.
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, if you can get away with not using freezer bags, that's always a good thing. Okay. But moving over to getting more permanent equipment is always good.
Right.
Especially if you're going to start doing this on a regular basis. All right. Next consideration you need to think about is how much food you actually have. It's all very well meal planning and meal prepping for a month, but where are you going to put it? If you don't have a deep freeze,
right,
where's it going? If you don't have the jars to jar it up or can it or whatever, where's it going? These are things that need to be taken into consideration. Very, very important. How much room do you actually have to store this food? Hi, Sika, how you doing? Annie uses homemade budget envelopes. Each fortnight when I get payment, I go to the ATM, get the cash, divide it into the different categories on the envelopes. Brilliant. Love it.
Yep.
Brilliant. Yeah, so look at, do you not have room just because it's all cluttered to hell? Because you just keep adding things to the cupboards or the freezer? Because you never know what's actually down in there. So before you start meal prepping, how about checking out your cupboards and stuff and seeing what's actually in them?
Well, it gives you an inventory of what you have on hand, too.
Absolutely, it does.
Right.
I mean, you never know what you've got in your freezer. I happen to know that I got 2 buckets of gravy from not Christmas just gone, but the Christmas before in my freezer.
Oh, Christmas past.
Yes. Ghost of Christmas past is still sitting in my freezer.
Oh.
It's fine though. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It's something that I need to get used up. And I will. Soon.
It sounds like something that's going to happen with Christmas future.
No, it'll get used soon. Oh. Okay. Right. You need to look at what your family's actually going to eat.
That, to me, one of the things I was going to say in the beginning, we talked about this. These are not in a specific order because everybody's situation and process of how they go about it is going to be different. Not everybody's going to do it exactly the same way. So whatever the priority is for each of these, that's what you need to make it. But this, to me, is one of the more important things because you're going to waste money. If you're making things and processing things, your family will not eat.
Yeah. Now, there is a difference between a fussy eater and someone who has legitimate intolerances or allergies, religious reasons, textural aversions to food. Okay? So anyone, if they've got an autistic person or someone with ADHD in their home, will probably have someone that has textural or flavor aversions. You know, so it's looking at those.
Okra. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I can't do slimy food.
Sorry.
I can't do slimy foods. Makes me gag.
What?
You know? Hey, Archer's at home. How you doing, sweetheart?
Oh.
Lovely to see you. So, you know, you've got to take those into consideration as well. And if they're people that you're going to be cooking for, you don't want to be making stuff that they're not going to be eating because it's going to be sitting there taking up room in your fridge or freezer or on your shelf and never used.
Wasting.
It's absolutely wasteful. So, you know, Annie says my son's got texture issues. He's on the autistic spectrum. Absolutely.
Yep.
See, now, normally in our house, I'm mostly plant-based whole foods.
That's how I eat. I don't call myself vegan because I'm not politically affiliated. I do this for my health.
I love that. Great answer.
Okay. So that's, I do it for my health.
Mm-hmm.
Tanny is meat and 3 veg. Every time.
Well, at least he's getting his veg.
Well, as long as potato is one of them. And
Sorry.
So, I have to look at making meals that are going to suit both of us.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I'm having a lot more liquid meals than I am actual meals.
Mm-hmm.
Because I need to do that, again, for health reasons. So I'm having a lot more soup, blended soups. And he's eating meals. Or he'll have soup if he feels like it.
Right.
But it's up to him. I mean, tonight we're having a meal. I mean, I probably won't have a meal because I really just don't feel like eating, to be honest. But they're having a meal in there. But if I was going to have the meal that we're having, instead of putting sausages in the toad in the hole, I would probably put mushrooms for myself. Strictly speaking, I shouldn't have the eggs, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I didn't think you did.
I give no shits.
I didn't think you did.
Oh, I know.
Okay. Why are we whispering?
Because I dropped a clanger, but yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's looking at that and finding ways around it with your family of who eats what, I mean, there are times when I will make a stew and I will have the veg part. Danny will have the meat and the veg. I'm not the kind of person who does plant-based who is going to say, ooh, it's got meat in the same pot.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me. The point is that, I don't want to have the meat to eat.
Right.
But still veg at the end of the day. Still doing my body good. I mean, there are people that don't want to be doing it. And I get that. So what you do is you have the meat dish and sides. A bunch of veggie sides. Everyone's going to eat them. You don't have 30 different meals for 30 different people at your table. You do what you were going to do. Maybe have something that's a little bit more veggie related if you feel like making that.
Right.
But there's plenty of protein in vegetables. If you've got beans on the table, if you've got mushrooms on the table, if you've got legumes of any description on the table and greens, then you've got everything that they pretty much need. Mushrooms are really good. But, okay, so here's a tip with mushrooms, okay? Especially brown ones, the chestnut mushrooms, okay? Stick them in the window when the sun's coming in for about 10 to 15 minutes before you cook them because they actually soak up vitamin D.
Oh.
Yeah, they actually soak up the vitamin D.
Well, good.
Yeah. So, that's always a good way to go. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say take them, put them up in the window where the sun don't shine. Oh.
No, put them up in the window where the sun is shining.
It was a joke. Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
I know, because I'm a mushroomaholic. I love my mushrooms. So, yeah. I'm doing good, thanks, Teresa. Tammy says, I've been trying to get better at making those rice bowls and stuff like that. They're healthy and blend nicely with meal prepping. Yes.
Yep.
See, like I do that a lot. I will make up a week's supply of rice and grains because I do a mixed grain mix. I don't just have rice. And I think I've got videos somewhere on it, on my mixed grain mix that I use.
You only got 800 videos, so it's highly possible.
Actually, I have 900.
I was joking.
I have 900 videos, thank you.
Yes.
You know,
Some
I got
people.
more videos than I got subscribers. Thanks very much.
Oh. Just saying.
It depends on how you're cooking it. Nanny's ham. Vitamin C in fruit and stuff is fine. Yes, I have 902 videos.
Just saying.
I'm just saying. Yeah. So, you know, there's all sorts of stuff that you can be doing, you know, and that boosts your protein intake on stuff like that as well. I think people don't realize that, you know, protein at the end of the day comes from plants. The only reason that meat has it is because they eat plants, or they eat something that has eaten plants, and it still comes from the plants at the end of the day.
Woohoo! Heather hit 500.
Yay! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
Jamie says I make beans just to freeze them so that way I have them if I make chili or something I need beans for, because canned beans have so much salt. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Deborah Cesar's in with us.
Hey, Deborah, how are you? Time for another drink. Yes. Absolutely. Go check out my video on how to make mojitos. Oh, my new favorite drink.
Mojitos.
Mojitos. Okay.
I think the biggest thing though is it's not that hard to do it. You just got to get in the mindset of doing it. I think one of the things I would like to add is that when you do find something that your family likes, and I talked to Blue about this, just give me a half second here to explain what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with taking a week and then on Mondays you do taco night, or Friday fish night, or Saturday, if it's whatever, you know, whatever you want to call it, especially if your family likes it and it's a repetitive meal that they don't get tired of easily. Tacos is a simple, easy one. Spaghetti's another one. Soup of some specific kind. When it becomes repetitious in the sense that you know your family will eat it, there's nothing wrong with plugging that into your calendar and making a month-long plan. And you know, Monday nights is taco night, Friday nights is fish night. You can do variations of those. Doesn't mean it has to be exactly the same thing every time, but it helps you when you go to do your shopping and you're planning out what you're doing and not have to find another thing to replace that day with. So absolutely.
And he's just said something really important. If you want to go meat free, don't buy those vegetarian meat alternatives, sausages, etc., loaded with salt. They're not just loaded with salt. A lot of them are seitan based. Now, seitan is made with hybridized wheat. And the hybridized wheat that is available now, that we've all of a sudden started using, has triple gluten strands in it, which the human body can't actually digest. So, and of course, none of this was ever tested before it went into production. It's why everyone, because I went into normal production in the 70s. And all of a sudden we've got this where we were running around in fields of wheat as kids that were over our heads. If you look in a wheat field now, it's probably around your knee height. Because they've got thicker stems, more wheat grains on the stems. But there is this triple gluten strand in it, which not only messes up your sugar, your natural sugars in your body, so your endocrine system, but your body can't actually digest it. And sourdough, creating sourdough out of it, does some of the work for that, but not all of it. So if you are going to have wheat of some description, you want to do things like einkorn wheat, spelt, freekeh, that kind of thing, the old traditional strains of wheat. Whereas wheat itself, you want to stay as far away from it as possible. You really, really do. It's so bad for you. It's so awful for you. And these seitan vegetarian meat alternatives, they're pure gluten. It's pure gluten. Even if you make it yourself, you are forcing the gluten out of the flour.
Wow.
And they are so awful for you. You're better off trying to do your own things using whole foods.
Cool.
So yeah, that's my thing. That's my little rant on there. Okay, so conclusion: menu planning and meal prepping doesn't need to be difficult. It is easy to get overwhelmed if you aren't organized or prepared, or trying things that you're not ready for yet.
Right.
Like anything, when it comes to practical budgeting, doing your research, being organized and planning ahead, the best advice anyone can give you. Only make things you will eat more than once, but don't be scared to try new things. Because at the end of the day, you can.
And I think there needs to be an explained separation there. We are saying you try things.
Yes.
New, okay. But in reference to don't make things more than once, if you've tried it and nobody likes it, there's no point in reusing it again and making it again.
Yeah. Annette, if you can put the link to that in the chat, that's fine. Okay, so the next chat on this will be in 4 weeks' time.
Don't we roll over to actually
I know
second conversations next week?
What we're doing is, does it really save money? And next week we will be talking about slow cookers.
So we're recycling.
Now we're recycling. Now we're starting to recycle. Okay. So we've been doing one different one each week. Now we're going to start recycling. Okay. So our very first one we did was on air fryers. Next week it's going to be on slow cookers and crock pots.
So in that, are you including broasters? Just so I know.
Yeah, the multi cookers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, so when I look what I need to look up, then I'm not looking at the wrong thing. So
that's okay.
We made it through our first month. Woohoo!
Yeah, we did. Yay! Our first month. Woo! So please do go back and watch the others. If you guys want the transcripts or the workshop notes from these lives, which are available to Patreons, to be a Patreon is $3 a month. It's not a lot of money. You get all the downloadables, any recipes that I do here on YouTube or Rumble or wherever I am. They are all done on recipe cards for you guys to print off whenever you want.
I said broasters. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah. So all of that information is down below. It's entirely up to you. I'm not forcing anyone to do it. I'm just saying if you do want the downloadables, they're there until I can get my website set up. And then there will be a subscription system through and a shop through the website. But I don't want to put anything more up on Etsy
Mhm.
There's more and more reports of them withholding 75% of people's income. I ain't playing that game.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So I ain't playing that game. So when I can get the website up, there will be a shop where you can buy the individual downloadables if you want to. Okay. So, yeah. Or go over to Patreon. You get them all for nothing. Well, $3 a week. Or $3 a month. Sorry.
A month. Wow, you
A
got
month.
expensive all of a sudden.
No. $3 a month.
Yes.
And you get all of those and the printables, which are only available to Patreons. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We will see you on Tony's channel.
Tonight, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is
4 a.m. GMT.
just saying. Yeah. I'm trying to get Tammy to answer me. I've asked Tammy if she would join us tonight, so we will wait and see.
Ooh.
I'm not quite sure yet.
She might.
So, we'll
She might. Oh, Annie, that's really sweet of you. Thank you, darling. She says, best budget series ever. Both Blue and Tony have a ton of great advice and ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Greenwich Mean Time. That is British British Standard Time, not British Summer Time. That's not yet. Don't do that to us yet. Yep.
I sent you an email, Tammy.
Yeah.
Chats keep freezing.
I'm horrible about checking my email. Go check it.
Go check it now. Yes.
All right, guys. We will see you later on over on Tony's channel. The link to that is down below in the description. And we will see you next week.
See you later.
Bye.
Have a good week.
Bye. Bye.